Hello everybody, my name is Joe Guy and welcome back to Dragon Age Inquisition. Onwards, onwards, onwards. Cullen, hello.
Was there something you needed?
I don't know.
I should get to know you better. We're working together after all. What would you like to know?
Dunno.
All right. Where are you from?
The fuck? My esteemed Lady Sidonia, I'd like to take full responsibility for Lady Marshalett's odd behaviour of late. You see, we recently began the study of history. I thought that it would do the young mistress some good to be exposed to all Theodosian cultures, not just our lay. With a foolish thought. Regrettably, your dear daughter has taken a particular interest in Ferelden folklore. She first developed an affinity for King Calanhad, which seems to have developed into borderline infatuation. She stared at me, eyes wide, when I told her how he unified the barbarians with his allegedly incomparable might and charisma. Every time I tried to move the lesson on to something more important, she insisted I tell her again about Calanhad, how the Ferelden say his hair was twice as yellow as the sun, and his chin more chiseled than the tallest peak in the Frostbacks. Twice now I've had to tear down drawings she's tacked up in her bedroom with the man shirtless. Then we moved on to the werewolves, which was even worse. As you may already know, the Fereldens venerate the folk heroes Dane and Hafter. Dane was said to have been a werewolf and Hafter to have been descended from one. No enlightened man or woman could ever view such beast people with anything but revulsion, but you know Fereldens and their love of wildlife. Unfortunately, those tales of the wolfmen set little mistress's imagination afire. When she suggested we put on a play for you and her lord father, I could not say no. I'm afraid that's why Marshallette was running through the mansion wearing wet furs and frightening the chambermaids. She was rehearsing a scene in which Hafter drives back the Darkspawn. I've been informed that some priceless family heirlooms were destroyed amidst all the confusion, and I cannot fully express my dismay. I understand that my abject failure as a tutor results in my immediate dismissal. Why did I get this now?
I grew up in Ferelden, near Homley. I was transferred to Kirkwall shortly after the Blight. This is the first I've returned in almost 10 years.
Okay.
You haven't seen Ferelden in 10 years. Are you glad to be back? I was not sorry to leave at the time. I did not expect to return. Now, between the Divine's murder and the breach, I've arrived to find nothing but chaos.
But where am I? Here we go. Seems to be that's a theme wherever you go, Cullen. You're an active man about the... Whoa. That is a bad accident. Okay.
You were in Ferelden during the Blight. Did you fight Darkspawn? No. I was stationed at Ferelden's Circle Tower. The Circle had troubles of its own. I remained there during the Blight. What happened at the Circle Tower? You who survived the Blight have fond memories of that time. I would prefer not to speak of it.
Interesting. Okay, sure, no problem. In Kirkwall.
What was Kirkwall like? While I was there, Canary occupied and then attacked the city. The Viscount's murder caused political unrest. Relations between mages and Templars fell apart. An apostate blew up the chantry, and the Knight Commander went mad. Other than that, it was fine.
Oh, yeah.
What happened between Kirkwall's mages and Templars? You were at the Conclave. You must have heard people speak of it. Yes, but you were there. There was tension between mages and Templars long before I arrived. Eventually, it reached a breaking point. There was fighting in the streets. Abominations began killing both sides. It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
What happened then? The Templars should have restored order, but Red Lyrian had driven Knight Commander Meredith mad. She threatened to kill Kirkwall's champion, turned on her own men. I'm not sure how far she would have gone. Too far. So you opposed her? I stood with the champion against her, in the end. I should have seen through Meredith sooner.
Yeah. So you must have known Varric then?
Varric's from Kirkwall. Did you two know each other? I knew he was friends with the champion of Kirkwall, but little else. We've spoken more since I joined the Inquisition, largely at Varric's insistence. Apparently I spend too much time with a serious expression on my face, and it's bad for my health.
Varric has a lot of people to tell that to these days.
I'll let you return to your work. I'm sure you have other matters to attend.
Lovely. Is that a nice chest? Is that my chest? Nope.
See reason.
Hell is that?
Cannot stay.
Guy's still banging that drum, huh? Check on me special shipments.
Good luck sealing those rifts.
Still nothing. So I'm worth coming over here. Let's have a chat with Cole. I'm still curious about him. Him and his hat. Speaking of, I've decided, by the way, that for me, a couple of people's hats are kind of intrinsic to their identity. So I'm going to turn off hidden helmets. And
will help the wounded.
yeah, with that in mind, like there's stuff like this, which is less than fortunate. Come on, just freaking, there we go. Looks quite cool, but not great, so I'm pretty tempted to just get rid of it. It's a good amount of buff. Do you know what, I'll keep it on for now, but between now and the next session, just because Cole's hat and Vivienne's kind of weird horn number that she wears all seem quite cool, you know, so just I miss them when they're not there. So I'm considering just like turning them on and then taking the helmets off characters who make use out of them, but you know, I did craft that one of his like hood. And it is a good hood. Hey.
I don't like what you're doing. If we don't help people here, I will find another place.
Really? I guess I have disapproval with you at the moment for some reason. Or maybe just not enough yet. Maybe it's just side questing that you have issue with.
I'd like to talk with you about the Inquisition.
I don't understand it. People talk like it's a person, but it's not even a thing. A dagger can be a way to let pain out, but even if it isn't, it's still a dagger. The Inquisition isn't real unless it has something real to make it. It's like a spirit.
Like you then. So what does that mean? You say that you're not real? And if so, does your definition of not real matter in the same way that ours does?
I'll talk to you later.
How do you know?
It's a good question, Cole. It's a good question. Let's go over here. I'm curious as to where the Templars have set up. Like, I'm not sure if they're actually, like, properly in the camp anywhere. There's a few folks around here, but this looks largely abandoned.
He's gonna close the breach, sir. Not a moment too soon.
That's right, hopefully so. Shocking staff. And a keeper staff. Cool, just a tier 1 schematic, but nothing to be sniffed at. Yeah, I wonder sometimes why the V makes... Oh, it makes different noises because it's actually picking something up. So yeah, siege weaponry, that's another codex entry we'll read one of these days. Although it didn't seem to have there it is, right. A nice cave there, which may well come into things later on, who knows. Or maybe some of it is simply a throwback to Haven from Dragon Age Origins. Oh, that's the cave that, you know, the hero of Ferelden went up in order to confront the cult leader. Perhaps.
Flissa asked me to bring some food along for you and your boy.
Gonna get a loading thing? No, I guess not. Hey man, I don't think I have much to talk to you about, but...
Need something?
Hello?
Can I ask you something, Varric?
You want to talk about me? I'm flattered. Also inclined toward extravagant lies.
Thanks, Varric.
No problem.
I think, I don't think he has anything else to say at the moment. He haven't unlocked anything. I've never noticed this ladder before. Well, didn't look like that big of a deal to climb.
My creator, judge me whole.
How's this stuff doing? Field tents, mining equipment, salvage ships.
How about nails? How about at least get me a few small nails by tomorrow?
Oh, hello. Hello, Liana. How are things?
I'm listening.
What's up? Haven't I asked this before?
You seem to know a great many people.
I have made friends, and on occasion enemies. It's unavoidable.
You seem to know Josephine quite well.
I met her a long time ago, but we didn't become good friends until years later. After the Blight, in fact. I'd just returned to Val Rayo, and she welcomed me back by throwing a diplomatic ball. She was the Antivan ambassador at the time, you see. The ball was... alright. Too many politicians. At midnight, Josie and I left to find a real party. We've been friends ever since.
Oh, that's nice. Just simple friends made at a party.
What do you consider a real party?
It's not a real party until someone's small clothes are pinned to a chantry board. And that's all I'm saying about it.
Fair enough.
We can continue this conversation later.
You know where I am.
Josephine, a woman who has respect for both the wild and the reserved. Though perhaps she considers the latter more like work as opposed to fun. Sarah's in there. Let's go chat with her first, actually. Before we go see the other elf. Oh, hey.
Sitting and waiting. Great, yeah?
Is the Inquisition what you thought it would be?
Well, you're dragging people together. Suppose that's something. You're gonna need more trebuchets if you're going after the sky. Or, you know, ladders.
Yeah, lots of ladders. Can you get to work on that? Do you know a ladder maker? I think we're good.
I'll be back if I need you.
Go on.
Not much to say, which is fine. It's just something I want to... more than anything, I want to make sure that... I speak to the companions, which I haven't spoken to too much so far. So, you know, a good way to chat a bit more with Blackwall and the Iron Bull. Less so with Solus and Sarah and stuff.
Greetings.
Hello. Oh, we don't have anything to talk about. That's a shame, Solus. Bye.
We'll talk later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. That's fine. This is fine. So who else? Vivienne, maybe Mother Delph. No. Mother Giselle. That's it, yes. Maybe them. Hattie.
Did you need something, darling?
Maybe. Okay.
What are your thoughts about the others in the Inquisition?
What exactly is Varric's role in the Inquisition? Aside from irritating Cassandra.
I don't know.
Do you need something, my dear?
Varric certainly has, there's something about him which has made him feel more like an outlier so far, but I suspect all that is that we got most of our conversation out with him out the way quite early, and haven't really had much cause to talk to him in camp since. We've been meeting all these new people. But I also talked about that in the last session, the fact that his identity so far is more tied to Dragon Age 2 than it is to this game.
What are your thoughts about the others in the Inquisition?
I admire Cassandra's determination. If she had a little charm, she could be a remarkable leader. Did you need something, darling?
Maybe. I just like it when you call me darling.
What are your thoughts about the others in the Inquisition?
What exactly is Varric's role in the Inquisition? Did you need something, darling?
I thought about something proper. I don't know why you're not giving me the option like the others, but... yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the Circle of Magi.
Of course. What do you wish to know?
You're a high flyer in there. Yeah.
If the Circle disbanded, how can you still belong to it?
The Circle is an idea, my dear. And an idea cannot be dissolved. Many of the first enchanters voted for rebellion, caring little that anything short of a unanimous decision would pit mage against mage. Rather than dissolving it, Grand Enchanter Fiona's vote split the Circle in two. The rebels follow her, the loyalists follow me.
Interesting. What, really? You're a straight-up leader of the loyalists. You just seem more like a... as I say, a high flyer, really. Somebody important, but removed from her situation among us. Interesting. I guess just because... I guess you just feel less significant than Fiona because... there are more rebellious mages.
If you lead all the Loyalists, why are you only First Enchanter and not Grand Enchanter?
Grand Enchanters are elected, and since there are no First Enchanters besides myself, no vote can be held.
I see.
I could name myself Grand Enchanter, but the title holds no meaning now. When the circles are restored, that will change.
Yeah, maybe a bit tasteless to do it now. Can you see me trying to get like a good thumbnail for the episode, by the way? That's not a bad one. It's hard to tell when you're actually in the game. Yeah, tell me about your circle.
I've never been to the Montsimard Circle. What was it like?
A place of great history and tradition, with the greatest library of magical history outside of the Imperium. It was deeply involved in the Great Game, as you might expect of anyone living in Orlais. The mages there were quite competitive, but it was stimulating to be always pushed to exceed the abilities of my peers.
I'd imagine so. Still, that pushing could lead somebody to use drastic measures, such as blood magic, in order to get ahead. In fact, we've heard that story a few times throughout the series.
How did we come to this state with the circles in revolt?
You, my dear, are far too wise not to have realized that many of our colleagues live with their eyes closed. Safe from the world inside their towers, they thought only of the Templars and their own resentment. Kirkwall gave the world a reason to remember its fear of magic. A mage killed hundreds with a snap of their fingers. Across Thedas, a new tangible fear of magic grew. Commoners and nobles alike called out to the Chantry for protection. But the malcontents in the towers thought nothing of this. They cared only for themselves and for their anger at the new Templar restrictions. When a mage attempted to assassinate Divine Justinia, again, the mages protested the investigation. The leadership chose to vote on independence based on the intolerable conditions imposed by the Templars, sparing no thought to the fact that magic was more feared in the aftermath of these attacks than it had been since Tevinter's day. So long as they had their freedom, they could care little for riots, angry mobs, or about pitting mages against each other.
I mean, there's always going to be a reason that the time isn't right. Riots, angry mobs, pitting mages against each other. The rebellion was always going to be messy. I'm not part of the rebellion by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm still more inclined to blame the Templars than the mages themselves. I feel like the responsibility is more on them. It was their responsibility to protect the world from mages, and part of that responsibility was, and people don't seem to realize this, is to try and come to a way to coexist. Otherwise, this would have happened. So, first rule of leadership: everything is your fault, right? And the Templars were in their way. Not, the first enchanter was the leader, but the Templars were in charge of the mages, and it was because of their actions that it came to this.
Are you familiar with Grand Enchanter Fiona?
We've met. Before her horrendously ill-timed and selfish vote for independence, I thought her adequate at her job. In her dotage, she could not handle looking after the well-being of so many people. We would have done better to replace her years ago, to let her spend time gardening.
Well, some mages enjoy that.
Did they have cause to rebel?
In the aftermath of their terrorist attacks? Was that really the most opportune time to break away? By all means, protest abuses by the Templars. Just don't do it in a way that says mages support wholesale murder. By voting when they did, my colleagues all but declared war upon the ordinary people of Thedas. A war in which we are outnumbered 100 to 1.
You make a good point, but not everybody thinks politically, Vivian.
I thought the fighting was only between mages and Templars. Why are mages fighting mages?
The vote for independence was carried by only a small margin, but Fiona chose to let the motion stand. Those who opposed a rash declaration of war against the entire free world had little choice. By breaking from the Chantry when they did, the rebels declared themselves in support of mass murder. Anyone who did not wish to support terrorism and the slaughter of innocents was forced to take arms against the rebels.
Yeah. Maybe I was right not to trust Fiona. She did seem brash and emotional when I spoke to her. Thanks, Vivian. Let's speak to Mother Giselle and wrap up. What's up?
Do you need anything more, revered mother?
I greet you.
Hello.
I don't believe I've had the chance to speak candidly with a revered mother. Can you tell me about the Chantry?
I presume you mean deeper questions about the organization itself. Even in the Circle at Ostwick, you should have been taught the basics.
I mean, I imagine so, but as a player.
What is your stance on magic?
Andraste put it simply. Magic must serve man, not rule over him. However, those words must be put into the proper historical context. Andraste led a rebellion against the Tevinter Imperium, whose magisters controlled most of the world at the time. Even then, she never called for all mages to be put to death. She believed in peaceful coexistence.
Yeah.
I don't recall the Chantry being as tolerant of magic as you describe.
No. The Chantry is an imperfect vessel, pulled in every direction by those who would steer its course. Yet the Templars rebelled precisely because Divine Justinia was not restrictive enough. Perhaps the Inquisition will find a better way.
Yeah. Good point.
Why does the Chantry allow only human women to become priestesses?
The official doctrine is that elves and dwarves have turned further from the Maker than humanity. And as for men, the chant holds that they are more vulnerable to anger or passion. But in truth, it is simply political. Added after Andraste's death, like too many of our beliefs.
I mean...
If you don't believe these restrictions are what Andraste wanted, why haven't you tried to change them?
Has the current state of the world not taught you the folly of fighting too many battles at once?
Yeah.
I chose to use what power I had to help peasants forgotten by the nobles of Orlais. I believed there would be time to address their inequality under the Chantry once we had saved them from starving.
You're right. Priority should be starvation. In comparison with, ladder climbing.
There were calls for an exalted march to put down the Mage Rebellion. What was your opinion?
It was ignorant gossip. An exalted march only succeeds when it carries the will of the people. Even then, it cannot be undertaken lightly. People are too easily frightened. We cannot destroy everything they fear. An exalted march is justified only against a true threat to this whole world. It is an offense to the Maker to use it as a political bludgeon, or as a means of spreading the chant of light.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yes, would you say it was misused back when?
What about the exalted march that conquered the elves?
That is a hotly debated matter in some circles of the Chantry. The elves had conquered Montsemard and threatened Val Royeaux itself. They were not helpless victims. But even then, Orlais was the only nation to provide troops. It was hardly an exalted march of all the faithful. The Maker wishes his world to spread by example, not by war. We win no converts with blood.
Good. I'm glad you're here.
Farewell, revered mother.
Maker go with you.
Regardless to what extent you are right, you're a good influence. We have our
If you're not
warriors.
using them later, Zegrit is willing to pay.
I don't feel comfortable letting
And Giselle is a
demons be
peacemaker,
available
first and
for sale.
foremost.
To be honest, I'm not sure who would buy them.
Hello.
What may I do for you?
Dunno. Really? Dunno. Let's see if your stories match up.
How do you and Liliana know each other?
We moved through similar circles in Orlais. I believe we actually met in Val Royeaux. Leliana was quite an accomplished player of the game by then.
The game?
What exactly do you mean when you say the game?
Forgive me. The game refers to the slow duels of influence among the noble and powerful of Orlais. It's a rather light-hearted name for the matter, but Orlesians are fond of playful touches.
That's true. Have you ever actually learned about yourself, Josephine? That was weird. Oh, right, okay.
What business are the Montiliers in exactly?
We began as merchants. My ancestors founded the first trade routes to Rivain. We once sent entire fleets across the Waking Sea.
Well, once.
But not anymore.
No. These days, our vessels are a touch more modest.
Really? So, hard times then? Interesting.
I'd swear our families have met before.
Perhaps. Everyone of distinction in the free marches attends Lady Trevelyan's summer balls.
Great Aunt Lucille always did love a party.
I don't recall seeing you at any of them.
No, that was too awkward.
I was less than sterling company when I was younger.
Modest in temper, bold in deed.
You know the Trevelyan family motto.
Heraldry is a passion of mine.
Modest in temper, bold in deed. How about that? That fits quite well.
What did you do before coming here?
I had the great honor of serving Antiva's crown as ambassador to Orlais. I'm also first in line to become the head of House Montilier, though my siblings attend to our mercantile affairs.
Cha-ching.
How strong are your past loyalties?
I would never have given up my position if I did not intend to fully commit to the Inquisition.
Right.
We cannot fall back on borders. Antiva is as threatened as any country by the rebellions. If anything, the alliances I forged there may help our current cause.
Right.
Do you think the Inquisition will continue after we seal the breach?
If we prove ourselves by healing the breach, people may turn to us for other things. Protection, counsel, justice. The Inquisition offered these once to those in need.
Giselle made a good point that the Inquisition should... Maybe it was Justinian's will to fold the Inquisition after we seal the rift, which is, you know, theoretically quite soon, although that game thing is happening where I know it's not going to be as simple as that. Maybe, I don't know. After just finding this purpose, I'm not sure I'm ready to let go of it yet. We'll see. We will just have to see. And this is a question I'm curious about.
Tell me, do you believe I was saved by Andraste at the Temple of Sacred Ashes?
I should much like to believe so, Your Worship. The miracles Andraste performed were so long ago, they're difficult to picture. If it were truly her and the Fade who saved you... Well, in any case, many already believe you walk in the Maker's light.
I suppose that's what you're concerned with, which in fairness is your job. Oh, thanks.
Let's speak later.
Another time.
That accent, by the way. That purr in her voice. That's like 50% of the reason I'm attracted to her.
Across the veil and the Fade.
Well, folks,
and all the stars in the sky.
That's it for this episode. We've talked with people. How about that? In the next episode, let's talk about war. And about sealing things. Thanks, folks. See ya.